Hi, I'm Pat Westhoff, Director of the Food and Agricultural Policy Research Institute here at the University of Missouri. I'm joined today by Seth Meyer, our Associate Director. We're going to talk to you a bit about the year in review, what's happened in 2019, what might happen in 2020. Seth, as you know, it's been a heck of a year on the weather. We've had a real challenge in the springtime getting crops in the ground. Some folks didn't get crops in the ground. And now we had a tough harvest as well. Tell us what's happening there.
Yeah, I think this is a year a lot of producers are ready to close the book on. We had a lot of difficulty, wet weather, planting delays, and as you said, some crops didn't even get in. I think we had problems here in Missouri, and we had lots of other problems around the United States. So shrank the crop a little bit less acreage than folks might have wanted to get in to begin with. And then even, maybe okay growing conditions throughout most of the year. And then we get into the fall and it's been continued wet and harvest problems. And then on top of that, a little bit of tightness in the propane market has made it even a little bit more difficult. So again, I think this is a year where folks are ready to close the books on it and think about next year. But maybe the silver lining of this has been we cut soybean stocks, for instance, because we had a big shrinkage of area. So if you're looking for a silver lining, that's it. But when we turn to the demand side, what have we seen in terms of trade?
Yeah, demand's been weaker than we thought it was going to be a few months ago. The trade disputes continue. We don't have a resolution there yet. So it's meant less U.S. exports of soybeans. It's meant some challenges elsewhere as well. We've had large crops in Russia and Ukraine. We've had all sorts of competition out there in the world that's made life difficult for export markets. Then on the demand side, domestically here at home, we've had some issues on the biofuel front as well that have made life difficult.
So we talk about trade friction with China, and that's had a negative effect on U.S. soybean exports. But is that the only issue that's kept U.S. exports of beans moving?
No, it certainly is. We've had a severe issue with African swine fever in China and other countries as well. That sharply reduced animal numbers in China means less pork production, which is a potential benefit to a pork producer here, but it's probably a strong negative for someone who's trying to sell soybeans, let's say. Soybean meal is an important part of hog rations in China. With fewer pigs to feed, that means a lot less demand for soybeans and soybean meal. So even if we got a resolution on the trade front, we probably have continued issues with soybean demand for some years to come.
So it's been a difficult year, and we've seen that farmers' cash receipt income has been pretty significantly affected. So how are producers made it through this year?
Right, so we actually look at an increase in net farm income this year, but it's primarily because of government payments. Payments are expected to be up quite a bit in calendar year 2019. In addition to the normal farm program payments we would always have, we've got the market facilitation program payments that are made to provide compensation for the losses due to trade disputes that we've been having. So that's bumped up our net farm income this year. Throw on top of that some crop insurance indemnity as well. It makes U.S. producers far more dependent on government programs than might have been the case in the recent past.
When we look at our August forecast, and you talk about the debt-to-asset ratio climbing up to about 14.5% out there relative to what it was 2010 to 2015. What are the challenges? What are the things that you think, when we look forward to 2020, what is the things that are critical for farmers in Missouri?
I mean, sure, obviously, whether we have a resolution on the trade front will matter a lot. If we don't have a resolution on the trade front, will we get another round of payments or not will be a big deal for a lot of producers. Yes, those debt-to-asset ratios are climbing. That's never a good thing if you're someone who has to borrow money to keep your operation in business. We've seen some increases in farm financial stress out there. The better farm income numbers this year are helping a bit. But where we go in the future is very much up in the air right now.
So you talked also a bit, when we look forward and we say we had these planting problems, and if we return to more normal yield in the area, bigger supplies.
That's right.
What do you think it'll be?
Yeah, because we use a lot bigger crop next year than we have this year. We'll almost certainly plant more acres of corn and soybeans unless we have yet another problem spring. So if we have even normal yields in 2020, we could have a big increase in crop production next year for beans and corn in particular. That can mean downward pressure on prices for those commodities.
Well, even though it means bigger supplies, let's hope we don't have another spring like we had this year.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. So again, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the year in review. If you want to see some more episodes of the Take One for Ag series, go to the Division of Applied Social Sciences LinkedIn page and go to YouTube for past episodes. Thank you.